This is the 2022 Infiniti QX55. It is the high style, high fashion, less practical version of Infiniti's mainstream SUV, the QX50. Many questions arise. Among them, why do people want SUVs that are less useful than normal? And why are they willing to pay more for them? That's what we're gonna find out. Infiniti is claiming that it helped to invent this genre of SUV because 20 years ago, it came out with the FX. Remember the FX? It looked like your standard Infiniti SUV had been crossbred with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Its working title was the Bionic Cheetah. I'm saying not so fast. I think the vehicle that actually started it all was the BMW X6 because it was the first time that customers could consciously choose to get less rear headroom and less luggage space for more money. And guess what? It worked. You all are buying SUVs like this. So the QX55 has a lot of competition, chiefly the Audi Q5 Sportback, the BMW X4, the Mercedes-Benz GLC Coupe, and of course, our 2022 SUV of the Year winner, the Genesis GV70. The reason you're buying this sort of SUV over a more practical one is because it has a good design. And luckily for Infiniti, I think the QX55's design is pretty good. As always, Infiniti is all in on the giant grille. I mean, look at the size of this grille. Plus, it curves, which is kind of cool. The badge is just ridiculously oversized, but I sort of like it. Really angry face. Look at these line cuts here, angry eyes. That's okay. Coming down the side, this is cool. You can see that the metal of the hood actually folds over the fender. Hey, it's different. Why not? Nice bright work right here. Wheels and tires are a little pedestrian. They could be more aggressive, a little less sidewall. Good line work, like this rising A-line, which comes up through the door handles and leads your eyes right to here. The D-pillar, and I think this is the real weak spot of the design. However, you get back here, hey, nice spoiler over the glass, great looking taillights. As far as the rest of the rear end, it just looks like a BMW X4 wearing an Infiniti badge, but again, that's what this type of vehicle is. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the interior design of the Infiniti QX55 is nowhere as good as the exterior design. It's a bit of a miss. There's some leather, it's okay leather, and it's two different colors, and this is sort of interesting. You know, the metal trim, it's just sort of, I've seen it before, it's kind of whatever. And then this, like this rubber cover here over the cup holders. Like, are you seriously trying to compete with Audi and BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Genesis? Because all of them blow you out of the water. But really, the problem with this car is the two screens. First of all, why are there two screens? Legacy reasons. You know, this one was developed at some point, then they developed this, they didn't blend them together. And this screen only does navigation. Why? It's just, that's all it does. And the controller here, this faux iDrive controller, it only controls this screen, not this screen. They're both touch screens. This one doesn't work so well. This one works a little bit better, but again, two screens. Is this luxurious? No. Is this supposed to be a luxury car? Yes. You see why I'm so agitated. As far as the driving position goes, the seat's pretty comfy and it's feels pretty good. Plenty of room up front. Because of the sloping roof, you lose 3 inches of headroom in the rear. Also, because of the curvature of the roof, you have maybe the smallest sunroof opening of any luxury vehicle. My point is, as good as the exterior of the QX55 is, the interior, not so good. Strong performance is one reason why people buy SUVs like this. Sadly for the QX55, performance is one area where it's not so strong. Allow me to tell you why. Under the hood sits a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, makes 268 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, and that doesn't sound like a lot because it isn't. One thing this engine does have though is variable displacement. What's that? Well, if the driver is going for fuel economy or going for performance, the engine can actually change in size. smaller for fuel economy, larger for performance. However, that technology is hooked up to a CVT, a continuously variable transmission. That means the engine size is never really set, the transmission is never really in a gear, it's just sort of this weird yo-yo seesaw effect, and in terms of performance, it just doesn't work. Also, sadly, the handling just isn't there, so there's really nothing performance-wise to recommend this vehicle. One thing you do get is decent fuel economy because, you know, the engine can shrink. 22 miles per gallon around town, 28 miles per gallon on the highway. As far as safety goes, we don't know the whole story of the QX55 yet because it hasn't been fully crash tested. It's been partially crash tested, so we know that for a frontal crash, the driver gets 5 stars, the passenger only gets 4 stars. As far as standard active safety features go, it comes with stuff like rear cross traffic alert and blind spot monitoring. However, if you want stuff like adaptive cruise control or lane keeping assist, that's gonna cost you extra. How much? All right, you can get into the base Luxe Infiniti QX55 for $47,500. Well, what about one that has, many more options, like this Essential QX55 that we're talking about today? This one is a bit over $53,000. So what's interesting is from the base car to a much better equipped car, it's not a huge swing, right? $47 some odd thousand to $53 some odd thousand. What about the competition? Well, the Japanese Infiniti here, it costs less than its 3 German rivals, and it costs more than its lone South Korean competition. That is, of course, the Genesis GV70. So we can say that in its segment, it is something of a good value. If there's one thing I want you to know about the 2022 Infiniti QX55, it's that it's just not good enough. Look, Infiniti's the one trying to draw a comparison between its FX and this thing. And the FX looked crazy, it had awesome performance. This thing simply doesn't. The interior is dated by Infiniti's own standards. The Germans have much better powertrains, they all handle better, and that Genesis, it blows this thing out of the water. Look, we named the Genesis GV70 our SUV of the year for a very good reason, and it is, if you're in the segment for this sort of SUV, buy the Genesis. To see vehicle rankings and a complete buyer's guide, please visit motortrend.com/cars.